Welcome to Prep Central, New Mexico's premier high school sports show. This show is presented by Western New Mexico University. If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us continue to bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as on all your favorite platforms like YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. See the show notes for a discount on a digital subscription. We hope you'll consider that. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading local news source. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Prep Central, the Albuquerque Journal's high school sports podcast. I'm James Yodice. I'm the preps editor at the Albuquerque Journal. Welcome. As I sit here today, I'm in a very good mood. It's been snowing down here in the metro area today. It's Wednesday afternoon, January 29th. I can actually see the snow in the window here beyond the camera. Glorious. I'm always in a good mood when it's cold and snowing. It feels like winter. So welcome. We're going to talk some basketball today. I've got a very specific outline set up for today. Before we begin, of course, we want to acknowledge Western New Mexico University, our sponsor. We appreciate their support of this podcast. So, what we're going to do today, this is a time of year when I get a chance to start getting around to see boys and girls teams that I haven't had a chance to watch yet in person. I did a lot of that last week, and we're going to talk about some of the teams I saw that impressed me. And there were some very noteworthy results during the week, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But there were quite a few teams that I've had a chance to see since we last visited that have caught my eye. And we're going to start with a team that I actually have seen, which is Kirtland Central's girls. I actually went up to Kirtland last Saturday for the first game of what I'm sure will be many this year between Kirtland and Gallup, the two rivals from District 1-4A, ranked number 1 and number 2 in the state. Gallup, I think, came in number 1 by the coaches. They were undefeated. Kirtland came in number 2. Kirtland win the game 52-38. Very impressive. And Kirtland pretty much led the whole way. It was a very impressive result. The 38 points that Gallup scored was by far a season low for them. I think 56 was their previous low. So Kirtland Central wins round 1, as Gallup coach Todd McBroom so eloquently put it after the game. We could see these teams as many as 5 times between now and the middle of March. We'll have to see. So here's what struck me. I had not seen Gallup yet. I had seen Kirtland several times at the Metro Tournament earlier this month, so I kind of already knew what to expect with them. I had not seen Gallup yet in person. Here's what my takeaway was from this game. Kirtland Central's guards, much like they did against Sandia, if you go back to the Metro Tournament at the start of the year, and Kirtland handed Sandia its first loss just as they did with Gallup. Kirtland Central's guards defended extremely well. Those guards gave Sandia a load of trouble in the Metro Tournament, and they gave Gallup a whole lot of trouble this last week. And I think, by my count, 24 turnovers, which led to 26 points, I think, in a game that was decided by 14. So now Gallup was not 100% at the guard position. Coach McBroom from Gallup said they were missing one of their key players. I believe her name is Alicia Slinky. Who was injured, so she did not play. He said she would make a big difference when she returned, and it sounded like she was expected to return relatively soon. But the guards that were on the floor, Kirtland Central's guards, defended and harassed Gallup, got in the way of passing lanes, turned them over. They're very pesky and quick and persistent. They defend the ball really well. And I've talked about this before. Look, Kirtland is not a lengthy team. Gallup has some size on this team. But their guards were a little bit vulnerable, in my opinion, to Kirtland Central's pressure, which ended up being a big thing and ended up being the difference in the game. Haley Noki for Kirtland Central. She had 21 points in this game, 5 3-pointers, including a big one in the fourth quarter when Gallup was starting to close the gap a bit. and she hit a big corner three, and that kind of ended momentum, and that pretty much was it for Gallup. So Kirtland wins round one. Great crowd. I had never been to Kirtland Central's gym before. It was jam-packed. People waited in line over 5 hours, I believe, to see this game. It was really a great environment, and I enjoyed the gym. I enjoyed the architecture of this Kirtland gym, the acoustics of it, and we had about 3,500 fans inside the gym to watch it. They're going to play again a week from Saturday, February 8th, in Gallup. So Gallup is going to have to win that game if they hope to get into a playoff game in that district down the road. So Kirtland Central is now, at least after this game, 16-2. Gallup 17-1. Does that automatically make Kirtland the best team in 4A? They are right now. You betcha. I mean, considering their 6 victories against 5A schools, and we're talking about some good ones too, like Sandia, Farmington, La Cueva. They've beaten some really good 5A teams. So Kirtland's schedule, they played 8 games against 5A schools before they started district play, seems really to have paid off in a game like this when they were playing with the lead the whole game. Gallup's trying to push them and press them, and they were making a little bit of a dent in the fourth quarter, and Kirtland, didn't fold up. I mean, their veteran guards carried the day, and so they hold on for a nice win. So, of course, we're all going to be watching that district pretty closely. Kirtland, of course, is the new number 1 in Class 4A girls basketball. And we're going to talk about another top team in 4A girls here shortly. So Gallup was one of those teams I had not seen before I wanted to get out and look at. Last week I was able to watch a handful of boys teams I had not seen before, like La Cueva, El Dorado, Albuquerque Academy, Hope Christian. I saw all of them for the first time last week. And we'll start with La Cueva. So I saw La Cueva for the first time last Thursday against El Dorado. Good first half. They pulled away in the second half and won easily. Won by about 20, I think. And then 2 days later, last Saturday, La Cueva turned around and beat Sandia, the number 2 ranked team, in double overtime in a district game. And Sandia hadn't lost to anybody this season except Volcano Vista twice. So La Cueva comes up with one of the best wins of the year by any 5A boys team in this win over Sandia. So how does that shake things up in that district? How does it shake things up in 5A in general? Hard to say yet. District play is really still very early, but pretty clear La Cueva intends to be heard from. I talked to Coach Eric O'Rell after they beat El Dorado, and we were talking about the Sandia game coming up in 2 days, and he said, look, I'm really interested to see where we're at now. Where are they at? They're a team that we should be thinking about perhaps in a different light than we were before. I would have said a week ago, I did not think they could play with Sandia, but I hadn't seen La Cueva in person yet. Having seen them now in person, they've got some good guards, Trey Cowles, Drew Bramlett. They've got a forward named Hunter Butler who's been leading them in scoring, been very solid for them. So La Cueva has one of the best weeks, maybe the best week of any 5A boys team last week, and now they jump into the conversation, don't they, a little bit more than they have before. If you're talking about teams that are going to be battling for a top 8 seed and a home game in the first round, we have to include La Cueva on this list of teams that's going to challenge for that. They're not there yet, but we have to talk about them in a different way. So, all credit to La Cueva and Coach O'Rell for putting some pressure now on Sandia. Sandia now is the second-place team in the district. The rest of this district not really equipped to deal with Sandia, and perhaps not La Cueva either. So now Sandia does the chasing, and now the next time they play at Sandia in a couple of weeks, now the pressure really shifts to the Matadors, a young team, to beat La Cueva, or La Cueva could be in a position to clinch the regular season the next time they play. And you have to remember, for the purposes of state tournaments and seeding and whatnot, the regular season champion and the district tournament champion both get automatic bids if they're 2 separate teams. That really won't make a big deal here in so much as both teams would be expected to make the state tournament field anyway. But winning the regular season, should that occur for La Cueva, if they're able to steal one at Sandia as well, that could shift things in terms of perception and in terms of how we think about seeding them for the state tournament. So we'll talk more about that when the time comes. But La Cueva clearly had the best week of any 5A boys team out there. So I'm going to get out and watch these guys again very soon. I like what I saw against El Dorado. I didn't see the game against Sandia, but yeah, that's a huge win for La Cueva. Another team I saw for the first time, Albuquerque Academy's boys. New coach Alvin Broussard used to coach Sandia. Alvin had a lot of success at Sandia, and I saw Academy play Hope the other night, and I was surprised at how big this Albuquerque Academy team is. This is the biggest team I've seen all year. This includes every single 5A team I've watched, and I've seen most of them at some point or another. This is the biggest team I've seen in the entire state. Academy is huge. They are loaded with size. They're such a different team from where they were last year when they were guard-heavy, up-tempo. They had 3 guards who could all score a bunch, led by Joe Jack. All those guards, all those scoring guards graduated for Academy. So the quick tempo, smaller unit has given way to a much bigger and more physical team this year for Academy. And this gave Hope all kinds of trouble the other night. I saw them on Friday night. And this game was close at halftime, and Academy ended up winning at 54-49. Hope goes scoreless over the last 4.5 minutes. They were within a point, 50-49, and didn't score again the rest of the game. Academy's got a 6'4" senior forward named Eli Dominguez, who's been their go-to guy. Very impressed with him. Great on the offensive glass. Good finisher around the basket. Very athletic. He's a guy that's he's one of those guys that's just tough to deal with if you're a defense because of his size, his ability to get up and board and score. Hope struggle with that immensely. Academy also has a 6'10" kid who I was basically seeing for the first time, named Hunter Aim. From what Coach Broussard told me, and a couple of other coaches have told me this as well, this kid, who is huge, not the biggest kid in the state. Hobbs has a 7-footer, but with his size and length, he was a real problem for Hope. And from what coaches have told me, including Coach Broussard, he has made drastic improvements from last year to this year. And he's one of those kids, I wouldn't describe him as a natural scorer, but when you're 6'10", look, what are you going to give a team? You're going to give a team, 8 to 10 points. You should, just by accident, you should rebound 10 to 12 times a game. He alters the trajectory of shots. He gets kids changing their mind about driving in and going up against him. So he changes the tenor of an offense. Not to mention, on misses, he's able to slap the ball out with his length. Several times the other night, he was able to slap the ball out to the perimeter and keep a possession going. I was impressed with Academy size. They don't have the same caliber of guard play. They're just a different team. And they looked like they're going to be a real problem in District 6 4A, which includes Bernalillo and Valley and Hope and Del Norte. And I may have said this in a previous podcast, and if I have, I apologize. Look, there is not a clear number one team in Class 4A boys basketball. There is not. I've not seen Espanola, but I know enough about them to know they're not that same alpha like a Volcano Vista is in 5A. 4A is as wide open as I can remember. Even the teams here in the metro area, which have been fairly dominant of late, teams like Highland and Valley, Del Norte, Academy, all these teams have been in state championship games over the last handful of years. Highland and Valley played for the state title just last March. Even among the metro teams, there is not a clear team that's above the rest. It could be Academy. It may very well be Academy. I can't think of anybody else it could be. St. Pius is the only team that I have not seen in person, and I'm going to rectify that soon. I've seen the rest, the 4A schools here. Highland is not, with several pieces missing, either through injury or a kid leaving the team, even with Jesus Licon back. Highland doesn't have that same vibe that they had last year, at least not yet. Maybe they will be, but they don't have it yet. Valley has had to retool like crazy since last year. Valley hasn't gotten there yet either. They've shown signs of being a good team, but do they have that it thing that will get them over the hump? I don't know. I don't see it yet. Like I said, we're only at the end of January. Still some time for teams to get that going. Del Norte, Bernalillo. Belen just picked up a big win over Highland the other night. That was a noticeable result. Valencia, on down the line. All the 4A teams here in the metro area It could be Academy's playing the best of the group, but there's not a team in 4A that's above the rest. I would say Espanola Valley and Artesia generally are probably the two best teams from outside the metro area. I have seen Artesia, good team. They're big, too. They're big like Academy is. Not as big, but they're big. So not a team in 4A that strikes me as being just clearly above the rest. And that's sort of on a macro level. On a micro level, if you're talking about District 6, the Academy District, Academy may be the best team, and they may prove to be the one that wins this district the regular season as we go forward. So we're going to see how that plays out. Another team that I saw for the first time was last night, Tuesday night, the Valencia High School girls, a 4A team. This team has been ranked number 3 in the state behind Gallup and Kirtland, now Kirtland and Gallup. Last night was my first look at them and at St. Pius, which is ranked number 6 by the coaches. Valencia is ranked number 3. I've been interested to watch Valencia. I knew they had a good group coming back. So Valencia wins this game last night 41-31. And they do it with their leading scorer, Jaden Montoya, senior guard, who averages about 17 a game, which ranks her in the top 5, I think even maybe top 3 in 4A in scoring average. She only has 6 points. She's not really a factor. Pius really defended her pretty well. But Valencia goes out. Their point guard, Francesca Otero, and they had a forward, Jaden Montgomery, pick up some of the scoring slack in this game for Valencia. That's what you would want to see. If your alpha is struggling or being defended to the point that he or she is not contributing the same way that you usually would expect, if you want to be a great team, you better have other kids that are able to step in and fill that scoring void. And Valencia did that last night. And even though they only scored 41 points, and I think they only had 4 players even score in this game, if I'm not mistaken, Valencia last night handled that even with their best player not scoring a ton. It was interesting. There was a point in the game where Jaden Montoya picked up her 3rd foul, and she briefly went to the bench. And Valencia had a double-digit lead at that point. Then Pius, as soon as she left the game, Pius scored like 3 baskets in succession, cut the deficit to 6, and Valencia brought Jaden Montoya back into the game. Kind of had to. And she told me, she was laughing, she said, I told my coach, look, I'm good. I won't get any more fouls. Because that's a risk, right? A kid that has 3 fouls coming back into the game, end of the 3rd quarter, you can't run the risk of that player picking up a 4th foul. That really would compromise you going forward for the rest of the game. So Jaden Montoya comes in, steadies the team, and Valencia holds off St. Pius, who put together a couple of pushes to try and make it a game. I think they got within 4 with a couple of minutes left, and then Valencia, I think their guard Otero had a 3-point play that made it 38-31, and that was kind of it. So I was impressed. Valencia has some good guards on this team, and look, if you are playing with the lead, maybe the better way to say it is if you're a team playing someone who has the lead, the worst thing you would want is to be chasing a team that has veteran guards, kids that know how to handle the ball, that know how to handle pressure, traps, things like that, kids that can step in and make free throws, all that. Valencia has that. So that is a definite bonus for them going forward. Now, can they put a dent in either Gallup or Kirtland? I don't know. They've played them both. Gallup beat them up like crazy at the start of the year, but Valencia only lost by 8 to Kirtland Central, for whatever that is worth. And I'm not surprised by that because Valencia has good guards. Kirtland Central has a great group of guards, so I'm not surprised that result was necessarily fairly close. So Valencia has hopes of getting in the way of a Gallup-Kirtland state final. We'll see. But they're going to be a fun team to watch and an interesting team to watch going forward. You know, the 4A girls division, Albuquerque Academy's got a really nice group. They got kids that can shoot. They got a couple of bigs. They have a nice balance. Deming is having a really good season after making it to the pit last year. We talked about Valencia, St. Pius. So there's some good teams out there. I don't know if any of them can handle Gallup or Kirtland when the time comes at the pit in March, when we get into the quarterfinals or semifinals. That's really what we're talking about. Can any of these other teams, whether it's a Deming or an Academy or a St. Pius or Valencia, when they're matched up in the pit, in the quarters or semis with either Gallup or Kirtland, what happens then? That's what we have to watch. When those two teams are going to have a big fan advantage and make it feel like a home court. So, but it was good to see Valencia play, and I like this team, and it was good to see that they can get it done clearly different ways than just with Jade Montoya scoring. So, those are some of the teams. So the Academy boys, the Valencia girls, the La Cueva boys, the Gallup girls to a certain degree. Those are some of the teams that I was really interested to see last week for the first time. There are still a few teams I have not seen in person. I'm trying to rectify that. I mean, as I sit here today, we literally only have 3.5 weeks left in the regular season, as hard as that is to believe. February 22nd should be the last day of the regular season. Then we move into district tournaments the week after that. So we're getting down to it. Like I said, there's still some teams I really haven't seen that I need to get out and see between now and the end of the regular season. The St. Pius boys is the big example. The Volcano Vista girls, who I have not seen yet. Farmington girls, I have not seen. And a couple of others as well. The Legacy Academy boys, too. So there's still a small handful of teams, Rio Rancho's boys as well, that I have not had a chance to watch in person. I hope to get out and see them at least once before the end of the year. It's extremely difficult, as you might imagine, to get around to see all the teams I want to see, not just here in the metro area, but the good ones coming in from outside the metro area. So plenty more big matchups on tap between now and the next time we meet next week. So real quick, I want to hit some quick notes before we get out of here today. Eloy Brazil, the Cimarron boys basketball coach, last week won his 700th career boys basketball game as a coach. I visited with him for a note that I'm writing actually today for the Thursday Morning Journal, January 30th. And we had a nice visit. He's been doing this close to 50 years. So 700 wins. He's sixth on the all-time list if you're talking about boys basketball victories. Ralph Tasker, Jim Murphy, Pete Schock, Marv Sanders, Frank Castillo. All of these guys are ahead of Eloy on the list. Eloy is one of only two active coaches among the top six. Jim Murphy, of course, at Hope, who was only 8 wins. After talking to Jim today, Jim is only 8 wins away from 900 with the boys. Jim is already at 900. A lot of people don't realize this. He's already won 900 career games. He coached the girls for 1 year and won 18 games. He started this year with 900 wins exactly, according to the data that he gave me. So with the 10 wins that the boys have this year, Jim is actually at 910 overall for his entire career. But he told me he's at 892 as we sit here today. So will he get to 900 before the end of the season? I don't know. In that district, I don't know. And between that district tournament and state, maybe he gets there, maybe he doesn't. Hard to say. But Ralph Tasker is the only one ahead of Jim on the all-time wins list among coaches who have coached here in New Mexico. So we'll be getting into that. But it's been a year of milestones. We talked about Roy Sanchez from El Dorado winning his 500th. Greg Brown from Volcano Vista. Greg's only in his early 50s. He just won his 400th recently with Volcano Vista. Eloy now with 700. Jim Murphy maybe with 900 before the end of the year. So a lot of milestone numbers out there this year. I also wanted to make a quick mention. Monique Senna from West Mesa's girls hit the 1,000-point mark a few days ago. Congratulations to her. She's a fantastic athlete. She also plays soccer and baseball for West Mesa. Not softball, baseball. So congratulations to her. I believe I might be wrong about this, and if I am and you're hearing my voice, let me know if there's somebody I missed. Jordan Dyer from La Cueva also hit 1,000 points this season. Those are the only two I'm aware of. That doesn't mean there aren't others. If you hear my voice and you live here in the Albuquerque metro area, if there's somebody else that has reached 1,000 points for their career, let me know. I'll be sure to mention them. But yeah, congratulations to Monique. 1,000 points is a great accomplishment. And last thing I want to mention too, just sidebarring, wrestling, the Albuquerque Metro Championships are this weekend at Rio Grande. For the local teams, really the last major tournament. State's coming up, I think February 21st and 22nd, I think. So it'll be 3 weeks after the Metro tournament. I think the state wrestling and state swimming tournaments are the same weekend as the last weekend of regular season basketball, which would be February 22nd. I believe that's correct. So Metros, I'll be out at the Metro Wrestling Tournament on Friday and Saturday, just working on stories and catching up with some of the top kids, boys and girls. Anyway, that is going to do it for today. Thank you for joining me once again. Thanks to Western New Mexico University for being our sponsor. We appreciate it greatly. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast. You can find it at abqjournal.com. You can find it on YouTube if you subscribe there, and you can find it on some other platforms that are prominent as well. So in the meantime, thanks for listening. Have a great week. Stay safe out there. If it's snowing where you are, I hope you're enjoying it, and I will see you next week.